Check. This is the Paycheck with Pay, your host, where I am checking the culture through great guests. And today my guest is Neenah. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here. It's been a while since we caught up.
Yes.
And you've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot despite Corona times. But I'm just excited to share your journey with everyone that's interested and everybody who tunes in.
Thank you so much.
So as always, the first question, we want to start with the beginning of your journey. How did you start in the music industry? Just for everybody, Neenah is an amazing singer, producer, and engineer. She's not one thing. So where did you start in this industry?
Well, thank you so much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. So I started making my own songs when I was around 15 years old. I had always been singing, always loved music, always loved coming up with melodies, coming up with lyrics even. And when I was around 15 years old, I learned how to use Fruity Loops.
Right.
So I started to make my own ridiculous sounding beats, and I would write my own songs on them, and then eventually I would record myself. And because I was creating my songs from scratch, I actually already started mixing them without knowing that I was mixing them, because I wanted the sound to be better. So I actually just kind of naturally gravitated towards better sound, wanting better sound.
Right.
How do I make this sound like the music that I love? And so I just kept making more and more music and kept trying to improve my skills and get better with it. And that's basically how I started. I just never stopped.
It's for me, when I first got to know you a million years ago, I knew you as a producer. And at the time, there weren't a lot of women producers that did their thing, and so you were one of the first that stood out in the scene over here that did things for known artists. But then later on I found out you were singing too. I was like, wow, this lady is so talented. Do you think that the love for the sound and improving sound trumped your love for singing, or is it equal and you just moved into something else as a profession?
Yeah, I think I just love music as a whole, as it is. But I think once you do something for a living, that's different than just doing something for the love of it.
Right.
So for me, I actually did perform when I was just starting out, when I was around like 20 years old or something. I did a lot of performances. I was singing live, I was singing my own songs. And I did that for a while, and after a while I just realized that that wasn't where I felt at home.
Right.
I mean, it was nice that I was getting bookings. It was nice that I had an audience at that time that wanted to spend their time with me, listening to me, and I was very humbled by that. And I was always very thankful to be on stage, but I was always very happy when I could get off stage again. I noticed myself feeling like, okay, how many songs left?
Oh, wow.
When can I go home? Because I'm someone who likes to be in the studio. I need to be in the studio working on the music itself, and once the music is done, actually I don't really care about what happens to it.
You're not a performing artist.
Not a performing artist, and actually not really someone who pays attention to numbers like rates or streams or whatever. I don't really care about it. It's nice when it does well, but my main focus, my main interest is
to make a good product.
Yeah,
good sounding,
that's all.
Product,
yeah.
That's so cool. And I still think that you have a great voice. So how do you pick projects that you do lend your voice to, or that you sing on?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I do love to sing. I haven't for a while now done any singing projects. My last project was my raw EP with 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗔𝗏𝗏, produced by 𝗧𝗛𝗏𝗏, that I released November 2020. And that was a passion project of mine. Really loved doing that, really had a lot of fun with that. I was very creative with it and just really wanted to create something that was my own. And that was actually kind of, I had fun making that, and then it was time to do something else. So I really, well, to come back to your question, actually, I like to listen to something that inspires me, and if it inspires me and I come up with something, then of course I would love to lend my voice to this project. But actually, lately it hasn't really happened. Not that I hear a lot of bad music. I mean, the inspiration comes to me in a different way now. I do get inspired, but I guess I listen to music differently now that I've done mixing for so long.
Oh yeah, I can imagine, because that's also a learning process and a journey that, you know, the older we get, the more we learn and the more we are aware of things in a different way. Like even seeing things, you look at things different, you hear things different. And for you as an engineer and mixing, I'm sure that you hear a lot of things that 10 years ago you wouldn't even have noticed.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's actually, it's funny you say that, because recently I've been listening to a lot more older music that I used to listen to when I was a kid or a teenager, just because my ears are so different now and the way that I listen to things. So I'm just wondering, like, how would it sound if I listened to it now versus
like,
when I was younger?
How do you experience the music? In comparison to when you were a teenager, for example.
So I used to be only just a music fan, and now being a music professional, my ears are
different,
completely different. So it's actually really fun to revisit older music that I used to love and listen to it again.
And what are some of the things that you notice now that you haven't before? What stands out?
I mean, literally everything, because I used to listen to it just as a fan, just this is the song and that's it. And now I listen for how the song is structured, what's the build up, how are the lyrics, what is happening in the production, instrumental wise, how is it building the song, what did they do with the mix, you know, what kind of genre would you put this in? You can have an artist like Mariah Carey, if you take her Butterfly album, that's really more of a hip hop kind of album versus her Music Box album a couple of years prior, which is very much pop. So it's the same artist, but just the production and the approach with the mix were different. Yeah.
So do you, knowing all of this and having that experience and the knowledge, do you think there's a formula for certain hits? Can you tell, like, oh, I understand why this back in the day became a commercial hit?
Yeah, I mean, the most obvious things are things that are catchy. You know, you only hear the hook once and you can sing it when it comes on again the second time around, and you can already like hum along to it. And I think the most catchy things are a really good melody that you can follow, because like you can't hum a chord, but you can hum a melody. So like the chord structures, the chord progression is one thing, but like the main melody that you can follow as a listener and repeat, those are some things that are very important for you know, the catchiness. And then obviously when it comes to mixing, which is mainly my job, you have to make sure that you support the song as well as you can to bring it out, you know, the best way.
That's a whole different skill.
Yeah, I mean, a good mix or a bad mix can completely transform your song.
Sound. Absolutely. So do you think that a good mixing engineer knows how to mix all genres, or do you think it's good to focus on maybe one or specific genres and then build up your skill in that?
I would say the latter, because for me personally, I've tried mixing different genres, but my main genre is hip hop, R&B, and pop, and R&B influenced pop. So, you know, it's very close together. I've also mixed a couple of EDM songs that actually I feel like probably would have turned out better if it were mixed by an EDM mixer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I actually feel like my strongest genres, like the genres that I'm best at, they just come out in the best way. And I can try to mix something different, but actually I have turned down projects before where I could hear the music, and in my head as I'm listening to the demos, the raw demos, I'm just thinking, what would I do to elevate this song, and how would I approach it, and what would be my goal to end up at? And sometimes I just can't really get a vision for it. And if I can't get a vision for it, then I say, like, you know, thanks so much for it.
It's going to be a frustrating project if you try it, even though you don't have the vision yet.
Absolutely. So I mean, I wouldn't necessarily try if I can't really, if my vision is blurry for a project, then I would rather not go there at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Good. That also that's a good thing for the artist that approaches you, because they may work with a deadline, or it might come out. There might come something out that you don't. That doesn't, translate their sound right. So I think that's a good skill. Or
I feel like, as a mix engineer, you should also feel the music, and you should also feel a certain way about, a genre that you're.
Of course, that you're excited about.
Yeah, that does something to you, that makes you want to, that makes you excited, makes you want to bring out a certain sound in that song. So to come back to your question, I think that mix engineers mainly will do best if they pick, like, let's say 3 genres maybe that they're great at,
to each other,
and just stay in that that region a little bit. If you want to, if you get bored, you want to experiment, absolutely go and experiment.
Right.
That's something else. I just mean, like, if you're a mix engineer that does everything, then probably maybe you're not really great at one thing.
One thing, yeah, exactly.
Am I a hater for saying?
No. And I believe that can be applied to everything in life.
Right.
So yeah.
But a little bit of everything is probably good, just to try it and see if it sticks with you or not. You know?
And I think that you can learn from it. If you dabble in different things, it might actually enhance your skill for that one genre, because you tried something different.
Yeah.
And then going back to the genres, and you explaining what your field is, what made you gravitate towards hip hop, R&B?
I just love that genre. I always have. I mean, as a kid, I always also loved pop music, but I discovered Tupac when I was like 12, probably, and that was it for me. that
was the end of the beginning.
That was the end. So that's when I started to really like understand, like, oh, there's music like this. And then I got into some Mobb Deep, some Biggie, and obviously also the stuff that was released at the time, like the Bad Boy stuff and Lil' Kim, and just the stuff that I was exposed to on TV and radio. Back when there was no streaming yet or anything like that, So
we had MTV and we had our radio.
So I would love to. I always would love to listen to the hip hop songs, the pop songs, and the R&B. Yeah.
And was it just the music, or was it, we're talking about the culture as a whole? Was it the culture as well? Because I know that we take it back to the beginning days of hip hop. There's messages. There's a culture behind it that exists out of more than just the music side, and you got the lyricism, you got the DJing and all of that. How do you feel about the culture as a whole? Was it just the music that really got to you?
Yeah, as a young kid, young teenager, I was never exposed to the culture in any way. That came much later for me. For me, it was mainly just the music and the videos that I had a personal had a really like a personal. I don't know, it just did something to me, on the inside, and it just touched me in a way that the other music genres didn't. So it was really the music and the videos for me, because I loved some of the really extravagant type of videos, like the style
stuff,
or the style of clothing they were wearing, and it was always just so beautiful and so awesome to watch. Or even just the old school, really gritty stuff, the street stuff would also be intriguing to me. So the culture for me came much later, once I started really diving into it more. Yeah, but I've always been an introverted person. I've never been someone to like go to parties or hang out with people. I would always just be at home and
typical engineer.
Yeah.
Sitting in your studio.
Right. So I wasn't really like on the streets getting familiar with any type of culture, right? I was just familiar with listening to music at home, so.
And that's a really good explanation, because not a lot of people understand that you can love one thing and not even knowing about the other. It wasn't even a conscious choice not to know about it. You just weren't in touch with it, or you didn't have anybody around you to show you that there was more to that. So how did you get exposed to the culture? Because at one point you had to, get out of your comfort zone and go somewhere.
Yeah, I went somewhere.
Left the house.
That was a big day for me.
19.
Yeah, I think it came once I started getting to know more people who were in the same music industry genre, the same kind of corner that I was in. So you get to know more people, get to know more artists, more producers, more people that are part of the culture, you know, even people that wouldn't make music but were artists, or, you know, they were graffiti artists, or
exactly.
even fashion designers, or, you know, you have people who design customized shoes and stuff. So you get to know people who do this type of stuff, and that's how I kind of got to know about like hip hop culture as a thing. Just
like there's more to it.
Completely, kind of separate from the music. So that came much later for me. Once I started to get familiar with more people who were also in music.
Right, that's cool. And I would imagine, because I didn't know everything when I was growing up either. You know, it was the music that got me, and then the same thing as you. When you hang out with people, they teach you all the other aspects of the culture.
Yeah, you get exposed to a much bigger part of something that you never knew existed. It's really just like hearing about something and actually going to this place, like hearing about some beautiful island and actually going there, and then you're there, and then you see everything. You're like, oh, this is also here.
So how was your trip to New York the first time?
The first time was 2011, I think. It was obviously amazing. I mean, anyone who's been to New York will know that it's an overwhelming city. You know, the buildings are endless. It seems. I walk through the streets and I'm just like looking up the whole time, and I get dizzy.
Because we're coming from the flatlands, so we don't have buildings like that. So that's extra overwhelming.
Exactly, and the streets are so wide and huge, and you know, you walk for 1 block and it's like 10 minutes later you're finally there. So everything's just so big out there, and as well as the amount of opportunities is tremendous out there. So just the overall energy there, like the way that I describe it is, as soon as I'm there in New York City, it feels like I'm tapping into an energy that's like a hustler type of energy. Like everyone is hustling. There's no one who really actually just has one job. It's always 2 or 3 or 6, you know.
Or 6.
They always have something on the side. They're always hustling. They always have like some type of creative way to get by. And actually, there's so much creativity, and there's so much out there for people to express themselves in creative ways. And I think actually much more than out here in the Netherlands.
Absolutely.
Because over there, I also see like a lot of free events, music-related events. There's a free party here, free party there, and
Jam sessions everywhere.
Jam sessions. There's live music everywhere. So much more lively than over here.
So making the translation from working as a producer, I'm going to say producer because that's kind of what you did back then.
Yeah, that's how I started.
So I know that you start working with people over here. Who was one of the first artists that really put you on the map over here in the Netherlands? Who was?
There were a couple. When I started out, I want to say like 2005, 2006. That's when I really started to, you know, get a little bit more serious about it, and I enrolled myself in SAE, School of Audio Engineering. And I was going to school, I was 17 at the time. I was going to school to study audio engineering, which is actually just really the technical part of it, and kind of a little bit of mixing, but most of it is just understanding how the gear works and how it's set up and stuff. So that's when I started to get more serious, and I, you know, my network kind of, expanded a little bit more, and I knew someone who knew people, and then I think I mixed my first album, which was by a Dutch artist called 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗥𝗏. I think that must have been 2006, 2007 maybe.
That is one of the first people that kind of got your name out there.
Yeah, and who was just looking to build with an engineer. You know, it's always good for an artist to have an engineer to kind of build your sound. You know, so he was one of the first people that I worked with, and also Mr. Probs. Did a lot with him around the 2007 type of years around that. Yeah, and mixed a lot.
That,
yeah, mixed a lot of his early music. That's actually when you and I got to know each other around that time, because we knew a lot of the same people there. So
shout out to 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗔𝗞𝗘𝗥𝗏.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they always put everybody together, and that's the same time that I met you. That's correct.
Yeah.
So, and you know, as long as I've known you, timelines are not my strength. So yes, we're talking about this, and I remember this. So how did you suddenly translate that to, you know, gaining a network overseas with artists that are famous or known in the States or worldwide? How did that happen for you?
I think a lot of it is just really network. Some people I worked with through 𝗬𝗔𝗡𝗔𝗡𝗥𝗏. 𝗬𝗔𝗡𝗏s had a really big international network, and you know, you get to know people through some people. And at some point I actually went overseas to be there physically, and then you know, you meet one person, you meet someone else, they introduce you, you're actually there to meet these people. So I actually went to Toronto, Canada, before I went to New York City for the first time. And I went to Toronto around 2008, I want to say. Spent some time out there, got to know some people out there, producers, artists, did a lot of recording sessions and just produced some things, and then I would sing the chorus, and you know, I would make a pre-made song, like a beat with a chorus on it, and send it to a rapper. And stuff like that. Yeah, and then I would just say, you know, send me your vocal, I'll mix it, and I'll make it ready to release. And it would also provide me with the experience of actually working on something,
on an actual full song, and
and creating that, and you know, start to finish. And so that was really good for my skills as well, for developing my skills. But being there.
But hold on. So if I may interject.
Yes.
So you're talking about, I'm so introverted. And for you to then sit there and be like, okay, well, I went to Toronto, I networked. That's, I mean, how was that for you as a person?
Scary.
Like, yeah, and then also having the, you know, there's like a little note on my little, you know, card about being a woman in this industry. I mean, I am one, and I've, you know, dealt with, you know, having to struggle against all these men that might not take you serious. How is that for you, going out there and networking with people? Did you feel like you had to prove yourself extra instead of if you had been
I
a
did.
man?
Yeah, I did have to prove myself over and over again. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, of course, it's true for women in the music industry, but I think it's actually generally true for everyone that's starting out. You have to prove yourself, and I mean, as a woman even more so, just because it's out of the ordinary. Someone might, you know, not trust.
Well, especially in your profession. I mean, you know, producing, and nowadays I'm happy to see a lot more women doing these things and actually being known for it, because I'm sure there were still a lot of women doing what they do, but maybe as a hobby, and maybe not necessarily wanting to get to that level. But for you also now as a mixing engineer, it's not something that, you know, that we see often. So I can imagine if you're some rapper with some type of name that you're like, oh, well, I'm not gonna have this lady do this because she can't possibly be as good. Was that something you feel like you had to really struggle through before you got a name out there and get the people that actually put you on? And
I get this question a lot, actually, and of course, it's partly true, but I must say that I did get a lot of positive discrimination as well.
Well, that's good.
Just because I was a woman, I stood out that much more. And people were actually kind of like, hey, let me see what she can do, you know, like, okay, I'm interested, let me see what you got. And so I actually think that it did give me some opportunities as well, rather than only take away from my opportunities. So not to take away from this subject at all, because it's important to talk about this.
No, but I agree with you, because again, I've had the same experience, and it's all about how you navigate in that industry and in that environment, because I also believe that I got maybe a lot of opportunities because I am a woman, and not have gotten those if I was a man. You just have to know how to present yourself, and you have to also know that you can do this job. You know,
absolutely, because and I say this more often also, like, the way you present yourself whatever you will tell people about yourself just by how you present yourself, they'll believe you. So
yeah.
if you are not really sure about what you can do, they'll believe you that we're not sure about this. So, you know, it's not to say, it's not to say that you have to be overconfident, but it is to say like, it's okay to just try something.
Yeah.
See how it goes. You know, you don't have to act like you know everything, but you also don't have to be like, oh, you know, I'm only starting out and stuff like that. Just be like, let me try it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's really not that much more to it, and it can be intimidating, it can be scary, but actually it's, in the end, it's very simple. It's just about gaining experience by doing. Yeah. Just doing something will give you the experience, and then next time you do it, you're better at it. So really, it's one tiny step at a time, and that's gonna get you so far.
Well, I've noticed, you know, as a woman in this industry, that now that I have a lot of people vouching for me because I have a resume, it's so much easier. I feel like I don't have to, like, there's like a weight off my shoulders. I can just move around. I don't have to worry about this. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Having people vouch for you is one of the most valuable things that you can get. And my favorite mixing jobs come from people who are like, yeah, this and this guy or this and this girl told me I need to go to you for a mix, you know, because that's the best thing that you can get. And obviously it's the biggest compliment also, you know, and it's not just about your skills also, by the way.
No, it's also about like being nice to people and
how you are in the environment, how you are to work with. Because you can be the best engineer in the world, but if you're
an asshole,
if you're an asshole,
to work with you,
you're not going to get called back.
No, and it's true. I mean, we can say that because that is the world that we live in. And I believe that to be in almost every industry, not just the music industry, but the music industry, entertainment industry is really based off of relationships. For sure. And integrity. Integrity is something that is very high in my book. Integrity,
showing up and keeping your word.
Exactly.
I always say over promise, under promise, over deliver. I almost said it wrong. Under promise, over deliver. So you just say, let me do this, and then see what you can do and do even more than that.
Absolutely. Wow, people. Going back to Canada, you won the Battle of the Beatmakers. That was in 2010. First female. How did you end up there? Did you have to sign up for that? Did people put you on?
I signed up. I think you had to send in like a handful of beats and a short bio and just talk about like who you are, and obviously they want to hear what you got. And so I made the cut. It was 32 producers and
worldwide?
Worldwide, because I'm from Amsterdam and I went there. So it was awesome, and I won. So
how was that for you? What was that for you in your career as a producer / engineer?
In my career, it was huge.
Highlight.
At least at the time, I think a lot of people probably forgot by now, which is fine. But at the time, so I'm talking about 2010, and a couple years after, it was like, oh yeah, I heard that you know. So it was like a pretty well-known thing. Like I won this battle because it was, you know, it's the biggest beat battle of Canada. So. So that was really, really awesome. It was huge.
Did it open doors for you that you think that wouldn't be there if you hadn't won it? Or not necessarily?
That I'm not sure about. I think maybe it's just another thing that vouches for you. You know?
You put it on your resume.
It's another thing on your resume, and I think that it will make you stand out. You know, you can say that you're a producer, or you can say you're an award-winning producer. So
that's true.
Or a battle-winning producer. You know, that's different and in a good way. So I think that it's just a kind of more of a security for people to check you out and see what you can do.
Right. But again, as an introvert, how is that? Because it's in front of people. It's live audience. You have to perform. It was still a so-called stage performance. What did it do? Was it a good nervous? Was it like, because you still won, so I'm sure you had like nerves of steel, but
I don't really remember that much of the evening itself because that's how
so
nervous
focused,
I was. I was super focused, and that's actually the main thing that comes back when you say like as an introvert. It's the music. It's just being able to work on the music in any way that is really, you know, a good way for me to work with it. That's all that matters, and everything else is just a bonus, you know. So doing something like a beat battle, it was amazing, and it was frightening and exciting and beautiful and wonderful, but actually I barely remember anything from that. And I'm not a person who drinks or smokes or anything.
It wasn't because you were intoxicated.
Not at all. It was just because I was so shocked and overwhelmed with the whole thing that I just barely remember how that evening went. I was just I'm seriously, I'm trying to remember and I can't really get it back, just like little parts of it. So yeah, it was actually really nerve-wracking for me, but that's actually also something that I really love doing, is to just get out of my comfort zone and challenge myself a little bit and make sure that I can rise up to a challenge. And that's why I also say, like, just I'll try it, see how it works out, you know, and if it doesn't, then do something else.
And I have seen you do that, because again, when I met you, you were not this person that's sitting here today. And I've seen your growth as, you know, a person in the industry, but also as a person. Like, I've seen you grow from, I don't want to say insecure, but like really closed off to being a person that shines, and everybody wants to, you know, grab a little bit of your energy. So that's, I think it's amazing to have you here. And you know, I was talking earlier to someone about it, like, you know, we all came from a little community of people that did their thing creatively, and now we're like 10, 20 years later, and everybody's literally carved out their own lane and doing what they do best. And it's, I just love seeing that.
There's still a lot of us who are still doing what they love professionally for a living and doing it really well, and have all of these years, you know, behind them as experience. So it's really wonderful to see, and I can say the same thing for you as well. You are still, you know, after all this time, doing exactly what you're so great at and shining also. So it's wonderful to see.
And I do think that that is, I wish that for everybody, to do something you love in life, because, you know, you have to do it every day. Your work is something you do every day, so might as well do something that you love.
Absolutely. If you know that you love something, then definitely. I mean, not everybody knows, you know, it's we're also lucky. We're also lucky that actually we found something, and really early on also, that we were like, oh, this is wonderful, let me do this. And not everybody can do that, but that's why, again, I say just try something, see how it goes, and if it sticks with you, then go for it. If it doesn't, try something else.
I agree. So going back to your career, I asked you who the first artist was that kind of put you on. So you were like 2006, 2007, it was 𝗧𝗛𝗘𝗏, and then you got your network in the States. Who was for you the first artist, name artist in the States that kind of put you on, where it was something for you that you were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody you know, gives me this project? Who was that for you?
I have to say it was the very first single by Slaughterhouse that featured Neenah Bless.
Oh, shout out to Neenah.
Right. So so that was really awesome. I had just gotten to know Neenah, and we were talking a little bit, like, hey, what do you do? What have you done? Like, what are some of the music project that you've worked on? And so we got to know each other, and he was like, hey, you want to mix this song? I was like, yes. And then at the same time, I was like, I don't know how to mix this song.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Like, how am I going to do this? But yes, absolutely, I'm mixing this song. And if you listen to it now, it sounds absolutely horrible. That's because I did it when I didn't really know what I was doing.
Right. But that was your stepping stone to what you're doing now. So
and
he was happy with it.
Yeah, right. I mean, as long as they can hear their voice, rappers, I mean, in general, they're happy most
so
of the
funny.
time.
No, Neenah is a big fan of you. Like every time I talk to him, he just has to bring you up. And I'm coming back to Amsterdam. We all gotta hang out. No, he adores you, and yeah, you definitely helped him out with a lot of projects. The 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, also, you know, one of my favorite groups. I won't go into.
I know. Let's not
to the current situations, but yeah,
very
you know,
current.
As music lovers, yeah, they're great, and for you to be part of that project.
It was just a huge thing for me. I mean, what year was that? The first single that they did?
I'm so bad with years.
Must have been 2009, something like that. I can't remember.
I can't even tell
but I do know that I was in Canada at the time. Okay. And I was on the phone with Nino, and the funny thing is that I was mixing this song, and 2 minutes later, Nino calls, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm working on it." And then, "Okay, I'll call you back." And I'm working on it, and like 3 minutes later, he's like, "Hey, so how's it going with the mix?" Like, I'm working on it.
Leave me alone. I'm not.
And I remember this pressure, this stress. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this fast enough. So I was just like, okay, I gotta get this song going as soon as possible. And so yeah, that was really fun. But that was a huge thing for me at the time.
I can imagine. So you were in Canada. How was your setup? Did you have a studio to work at? Did you just bring your stuff?
I was renting a bedroom.
And then you had your own little gear with you to mix.
I literally just brought
a laptop.
No, I bought a desktop computer out there. Yeah,
really?
I didn't have a laptop. Yeah, I bought one out there, and I brought an external hard disk with all my files and plugins and stuff. And I brought my my monitor, speakers, and my microphone, and that was it actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's how you were working at the time.
Yeah, and no studio treatment or anything like that. It was just a desk in an empty room, which is the worst setup.
Probably why that sound now from that song is not what you would like, what you like it to be.
Yeah, it's a horrible acoustic setup for anyone who's mixing. It's just an empty, reflective room with speakers in it.
Not a good way to hear.
The sound is bouncing off of everywhere, and you really can't hear what you're hearing. Actually,
right.
You can't hear what you're listening to.
You might as well sit in a car and listen to it.
That's actually better. Yeah.
That's
that
so
would be
funny.
better.
But you made it happen. And so honestly, this is why I love talking to people's journeys, because nowadays, especially in this society, things are pretty much ready-made. So when you talk to the new generation, they think they need to have everything perfect and they have all the tools. But no, just like I said, just start with something, with whatever you got at the time, and you can work your way up from there. But don't not start because you don't feel like you have all the high equipment or everything that you need, because
if anything, it might be easier nowadays just because you have access to literally all of the information there is to know. That's which true. We didn't at the time, you know, that we started out. So we needed to have actual stuff to work with in order to gain knowledge. And obviously we did have YouTube at some point, but there wasn't really much on there yet.
Tutorials and stuff.
Right.
People didn't do that at the time.
Yeah. And so, and I never had any mentor or anything like that. You know,
you just learned yourself.
Just by doing it. And actually that was the best way to learn it, because not only do you learn the actual field, but you also learn your place in it, and you learn what you gravitate towards, and you cultivate your own sound. Yeah. And
instead of having somebody, you know,
tell you like you should
be,
make it sound like this, and this is how you do it. Like, actually, maybe that's not the best way.
Yeah, not maybe, for that person.
Maybe you have a better way of your own, but you won't actually get to know it because you are doing what someone else is telling you to do.
That's very true. So that's good advice. Okay, so 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Neenah Bless was the first project. What was, because I mean, I don't want to run down a whole list of everything that you've been doing, but what were some of the highlights for you, projects that you've worked on? Just name a few over the years. And then we'll get to the last one that I want to mention.
Okay. Yeah. I'm intrigued. So, this is going to be a bit of a lame answer, but
there's no lame answer. This is your...
I don't really know that I have highlights. I mean, we've talked about some of them, obviously, that were really important for me along the way, but I don't really know that I have highlights, because actually
it's all a process.
I love what I do, and I always have loved what I do. And like I said before, I don't really care so much what happens to the music afterwards.
Right.
So, but I mean, I guess one highlight that I could tell you is mixing an album by Dutch artist Neenah, who's a dear friend of mine and really one of my favorite artists ever to do it. He's fantastic, artist, and still he's amazing. Has been doing this for so long also. So I mixed his 𝗬𝗘𝗘𝗥𝗝𝗔𝗚 album in 2018. And that was huge for me also because I was just kind of finding my way in mixing, and I was going to seminars and learning more and really diving into mixing specifically. I do have one production on that album as well.
Okay.
But the mix was my main focus at the time, and so it was actually a huge opportunity for me to mix that album, and he had to have a lot of faith in me to let me do it. And actually, I shouldn't say this. I don't know if this is going to be a good thing to say, but at the time there were some people in charge of the project of this album who had literally said, we want a second opinion on the mixes.
Okay.
And that hurt me at the time a lot, although I must say it's business. Can't take it personal.
Exactly. It had nothing to do with you. It's just they want the project to be...
Just wondering, you know, if they do that with everyone.
I don't know. I'm going to ask this question now.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you, is it common for artists or labels even to have one person mix an entire project, or could there be different mixing engineers for the album?
Both instances are kind of common. Yeah. I mean, it's common.
The sound, though?
Yeah, I mean, once you get to a certain type of level of engineering, you know, you will have a cohesive sound.
Right.
And obviously you go to a certain engineer because of the work that they've done.
True. Yeah.
So you will kind of know, like, oh, this song would be good for this type of sound. And for this other song, I'll hire someone else. Like, just to come back to the Butterfly album again by Mariah Carey, half of it is mixed by Tony Maserati. The other half is mixed by Mick Gazowski. And the half done by Tony Maserati are kind of like the hip-hop songs, the more up-tempo stuff, and the ballads, the slow songs, were done by Mick Gazowski, and the album sounds amazing, and it sounds cohesive as well. It doesn't sound completely different from each other, you know. So
that's good. That's a good answer. That was just something I wanted to know personally.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but you know, knowing you, calling you a friend, I'm so proud that I saw you on Snoop's album. Like, honestly, I was
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Yeah. I did a mix on the 𝗬𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 album by Snoop Dogg, which is the song "Whatever You Want" by Jane Hancock, and it's produced by 𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏.
Right. I figured
so
𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was the one.
So 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and I have worked together before, and I've also mixed more of his stuff, and so he hit me up, do you want to do this mix? And I'm like, yeah, sure. He's like, it's for the Snoop album. I'm like, what?
Did you feel pressure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Still?
Yeah, and well, I remember also that I had to do some last minute changes. Like, they sent me some files to exchange in the project, and it was the middle of the night, and I had just started dating my boyfriend, my current boyfriend right now, and he was sleeping over, and I was like, I gotta work. He's like, what? And it was so funny to kind of like explain this to him, like, well, actually over there it's, you know, because of the time difference. So I was working through the night to finish the song and to send everything that they needed. You know, I gotta export files and send everything correctly, and it was so late and I was so sleepy that I actually made a mistake in the first batch of the files that I rendered, and luckily I was experienced enough to listen first before I sent them over. So then I
corrected it. Yeah.
I noticed what I did wrong, could correct it and send them the right files, and it was really wonderful opportunity and so awesome to work on it. And I felt the pressure, obviously, and I really wanted to do everything right, and they were really happy. So
well, that's great. Do you think has this already opened doors for you? Have people approached you because of this particular project, or?
I can't say. Maybe it's possible because social media is social media is actually a big source of my requests, my inquiries for mixing. So could be, who knows?
Who knows? Well, I'm proud of you. I'm just,
Thank you
again,
so much.
like knowing you from back then and then you doing these great things. I'm just excited.
Thank you so much.
You know, I always ask my guests about their appearance. Now, you're a person that sits in the studio, but you're also now a person that is out more, you know, people know who you are. What are you conscious about when you have to dress up? I mean, we were just talking about what are we wearing for this show today? I mean, I don't have any creativity anymore since the pandemic. It's just been tracksuits and sweatsuits, but okay, I wore jeans and a shirt. So what is up with your outfit today?
Well, I'm Team Nike.
Yes.
Actually, kind of always, but definitely today I'm all Nike'd up. So this is,
You got
Nike hoodie,
the fresh Air
got
Forces,
the fresh Air Forces, fresh out the box for today specifically.
Awesome. So that was something you consciously did. That was like, okay, I need some fresh shoes.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's one thing that I'm definitely conscious about, especially I'm going to be on camera, and it's a sneaker kind of vibe that we got going on over here. So I'm like, okay, probably my sneakers will be in the shot. I can't wear the sneakers I have been wearing for the past year.
I mean, you can.
The creased ones, you know.
It will show that those are your favorite ones.
I actually wore them today, just not now.
That's honest. But you know, again, you're mainly in the studio, but when you have events to go to, is that something that you're, you know, do you just throw something together, or?
I used to be extremely conscious of what I was wearing and actually very insecure about my appearance, and always just trying to like touch up my makeup and like, oh, how do I look? And just over the years, you kind of shed that a little bit. And also because it is exhausting, and also there's always going to be something wrong anyway if you look at it like that. So I think that probably I was the one who noticed it most of the time, that like, oh, my hair is weird, or oh, my makeup, and someone else who's looking at me won't notice. Right. And even if they do, you know, who cares?
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right, yeah. So I used to be extremely conscious about my appearance, and now I'm really just kind of found a way to be comfortable, and that's mostly sweats, sneakers.
I'm with you.
It also comes from like being I love to train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
You're very you
I do martial arts. I do martial arts, which is a big part of my life, and actually, you know, if I'm wearing heels or something like that and I'm walking around or something, I'm just like, I could never fight in these. It feels unnatural. So.
Oh no, that is something that I've been following too. Like, oh my gosh, every time I see that, I'm like, you're so inspiring, but it doesn't inspire me enough to actually get up the couch and do something. A lot of people inspire me that way, but not enough. I mean, I'm happy for everybody being so healthy. I'm just gonna sit on the couch.
We need people on the couch also, so
I don't know about that, but hey, it's gonna be me. That's for sure. I mean, I'm not that lazy. I walk around enough, so.
I think you also work your ass off all the time, so I think it's okay.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I feel a little bit better.
You're not only on the couch. Let's not pretend like.
It feels like that because we've been locked down, and you know, it really does feel like that. And I actually have to get used to doing things again. Like I actually became an introvert. As crazy as that sounds, I went from extrovert to introvert. I did the personality test because, you know, I had a conversation with somebody. I was like, I think I've changed. And I did the test and completely changed. I have a hard time going to social events at this point. And I was never like, you know, I was always everywhere. I was the opposite of you. I was just everywhere. And now I'm just like, I can sit at home. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's actually common nowadays. I think a lot more people are experiencing what you're describing.
It's called JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Right.
Like, I'm happily sitting on my couch while everybody does what they do.
I completely understand, because I was born that way. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome to your world. It's wonderful in your world.
Yes, enjoy.
I am. Okay, I want to go to the knowledge part of, the culture. Knowledge is one of the elements of hip hop. And you're doing master classes now. A lot of people come to you for questions. You do the questions on your Insta story as well, like, hey, what do you want to know? And people come with all these, technical questions. But what does it mean for you to give back in that way, to teach younger generation or new people that are doing it? It doesn't even have to be younger. I mean, you can start anything at any age. If I would want to be an engineer right now, I know who to go to.
Right.
What does that mean to you? How important is that to you?
It's extremely important to me. I actually find a lot of joy and fulfillment in teaching. I actually have been teaching classes at 2 different mixing schools currently, so really, really enjoy doing that, really enjoy sharing knowledge. And the main reason for that is because I didn't have that when I started out. I had all of the questions and no one to really ask. Yeah. And so I had to figure almost everything out on my own. Yeah. And so anything that I can do to kind of like help someone along the way, just to make that path a little bit easier, a little bit shorter to that goal that they're trying to reach, is something that I really love to do. And my favorite thing is to actually be able to see that light bulb come on when you tell a student something, and they're like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And then they start utilizing it and applying it in their work, and they're like, that thing. And you hear the difference, and they tell you about how well it worked out and stuff like that, and they actually come back to thank me and stuff. So that kind of stuff is just wonderful, wonderful to see and experience. And if I can help just one person along the way, it's just a great thing.
I feel the same way, and it's exactly like you said. Like when we did the things that we did back then, there was nobody to tell us how to, or to guide us even. It's not necessarily how to. We discussed that before. Like you need to find your own comfortability in it. But it's nice if people can at least mentor you, so you don't have to take as long to find out, oh, wait a minute, maybe I should have pressed this button instead. And to simplify it. But I feel the same way. I mean, obviously, you know me, I'm always helping people. I'm telling people, what I think would be best or how to go about it. And it's wonderful to see everybody making that progress as you help them. And it's an incredible, satisfying feeling. But I also, the reason why I started doing interviews is to give out information and knowledge. And so your journey is one big ball of knowledge, because what we've just discussed can help the next person, be inspired to do it instead of not doing it.
Right, yeah. I mean, it can be overwhelming, and like you and I have experienced in the beginning, we didn't have anyone to go to, and actually nowadays it's the complete opposite, where there's an excess of information, and how do you even know how to navigate this ocean of information? Like everyone is doing something differently, so who do you listen to? And so it can be very overwhelming, and it can also be demotivating to not know where to start.
That has too much.
Just start somewhere. Start with what you got and try to make something, that's yours. Try to figure out what do you like, and how are you gonna get to the sound that you like, and just try to make it something of your own. Just don't worry about whether it's technically perfect. Don't worry about all the steps that you have to go to make a perfect mix or something like that. Just make it sound great.
But how do you pick a mentor between the 5 million people that are teaching how to engineer in your case? I'm working with some artists that have multiple artist consultants. And I always say, you don't have to take my advice if the other person goes against me or has something completely different. Go with what makes you feel comfortable and who makes you feel most comfortable. So I guess in this case with you, how do you advise somebody to pick the right mentor?
For me, that would be an intuitive thing. I'm very in touch with my own intuition, so I would kind of know whether someone or something sits right with me or not. So I would say go with your gut, and also just try something. Again, just try it.
Like Nike.
Try it out, see how you like it. You can think about it all day long, but until you do it, until you experience it, you're not gonna know what it's like.
Yeah, that's true. I've always been a person that just does it.
Yeah,
I honestly never sat down and said, should I do it? I literally, if I have an idea, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you figure out afterwards whether you want to do that again or you want to do something else.
It may not be for me.
Yeah, but then at least you know, that's knowledge.
Yeah, that is knowledge of self, especially. This might not be my lane. Don't quit my day job yet.
Right.
No, this has been an amazing conversation. I wanted to catch up with you, so I'm happy that we were able to do it in this environment.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah.
Are there any, before we close off, I know that you said you love everything and it doesn't matter what happens to the music, but is there a person that you would love to still work with in this lifetime?
Ooh.
One. Only one.
Just one. I'm going to go with Alicia Keys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Very, very inspirational, even from when I was little, you know, when I was a child. And she first came out with, you know, her first singles and her first album, songs in A minor.
Yeah.
I was searching for that title.
Yeah.
So, Alicia Keys, and still doing it to this day, still wonderful and still inspirational as a person as well.
Yeah, she made her own journey as well, and that was inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Cool, Alicia Keys, that's gonna happen. Yeah. I'm gonna say it.
AK, hit me up.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking it into existence, are there any people that you want to thank that have supported you? Is there a shout out that you want to give or a motto?
Wow. If I just only thank one person, then I think everyone else will be mad at me. So I'm just very, very thankful, first of all, to you for having me here today, for being my friend for so long. I'm thankful to my community, you know, the people around me that are close to me, my family and my friends obviously, but also my engineering community on social media. Very thankful for everyone who's supporting me and just spread love.
Such a great answer to not leave people out. Very good. No, thanks. And of course, we'll be following you. I'll be following you. Everybody should follow her. Where can we follow her? On Instagram, it is now Neenah Mixed It.
Yes.
And I think that might be Instagram. Yeah. You can find everything else about her there.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time.